Sad news for the Saints. No one expected him to leave. This is from New Orleans Saints News, I believe, is a News Express or something like that is the channel. I have a feeling him is going to be Taysom Hill is going to leave. So we're going to talk about that a little bit here. This is kind of unsubstantiated rumor milling. I'm not sure. Hopefully in the video they tell us exactly where this rumor came from. But if you told me that Taysom was leaving, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think Taysom is a good player. I like Taysom Hill. I think Taysom Hill is an example of how creative Sean Payton is as a play caller, or was with the Saints. But it might be time for us to quit trying to force the Taysom Hill thing, especially if we're bringing in a new OC. If the new OC doesn't want to do that, if the new OC doesn't have room for Taysom or doesn't, he's not interested in trying to make this work, then with the salary cap situation the Saints have, maybe it is prudent for us to kind of go into a different direction, save some cap, move it around, let someone else kind of get involved with Taysom, and let this OC have his own ideas and just kind of strip the offense of all the older stuff that we're still hanging on to.
Greetings, New Orleans Saints fans. We have a hot scoop that could change the game in the upcoming offseason.
What is this, an AI-generated voice? Who am I talking to? Sounds like I'm talking to Morgan Freeman and Bruce Almighty.
Sean Payton, the current head coach of the Denver Broncos, might be looking to reunite with an old acquaintance from his glorious days with the Saints. According to Mike Kliss of 9 News, there is an intriguing possibility that the Broncos will pursue the versatile player Taysom Hill in free agency.
I think stuff like this is, I don't know how true these rumors are. This video just popped up, was sent to me, so we're reacting to it. These kind of rumors are the lowest hanging fruit, in my opinion, where people say, oh, well, Sean Payton used to coach in New Orleans. Sean Payton liked Taysom Hill in New Orleans. Taysom Hill was good in New Orleans under Sean Payton. Ooh, Sean Payton is a coach in Denver now. Ooh, maybe Sean Payton would want Taysom in Denver. Like, that kind of stuff is so shallow and so just easy to connect those dots. But wouldn't it make sense if Sean Payton wanted a Taysom Hill version or a Taysom Hill player or something to use in Denver? Wouldn't it make sense for him to go try and find the next Taysom Hill? For him to go try and evaluate the next player coming out of college who has the similar skill set that he can possibly try and kind of wrinkle this stuff in with? I mean, we heard with New England, I think Malik Cunningham was his name, that they were trying to kind of utilize him as maybe a Taysom Hill type player. We've seen other teams try and replicate this. Payton is the guy who created the Taysom Hill phenomenon. So I for what the Broncos need and what the Broncos are trying to do, it just seems like a bit of a stretch for them to go pay Taysom Hill this kind of money to do that. I mean, I feel like Payton is good enough of an evaluator and good, creative enough to where he could go get the next Taysom Hill versus having to just go retread the actual Taysom Hill.
Hill, signed by the Saints in 2021 to a 4-year, $40 million contract, has 2 years remaining on his deal. However, the Saints' salary cap situation is critical, which could lead to Hill's release to ease the team's finances. Utility player Hill, who has played multiple roles for the Saints, could become a valuable option for the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a vacuum, Taysom is probably more valuable to the Broncos than the Saints, because I think Payton obviously knows how to use him, Payton wants to use him, and Payton has a need to use him with Denver. I'm not totally sure the Saints have a need. I think Taysom Hill's an awesome player in his own right. But if this OC comes in and the OC's plan is we're going to use Alvin Kamara, we're going to use Chris Olave, we're going to run blank offense that does these things, and that doesn't require a Taysom Hill. It doesn't require Taysom Hill getting 4 carries, 2 catches, and two passes. If it doesn't require that, the way we're moving forward, I don't think we need to force whoever this OC is to, fit a round peg in a square hole. Pause. I think we just need to let him do his thing, get the players he wants, create an entirely new vision, create an entirely new scheme, create an entirely new strategy. That's what this OC needs to do. We don't need to bring him in and say, oh, hey, by the way, we want you to create all this new stuff, but bad news, you have to utilize Taysom Hill in blank role. You know, I mean, it's similar to what we had to do with Jamal Williams last year, where we get Jamal Williams and it's like, okay, we have him. You have to fit him into the game plan. It's like, but we already kind of have players that do what he does. Why are we fitting him into the game plan? You know, to me, keeping Taysom and forcing the OC to utilize him would be using him just to use him, using him just because he's there. And I think it'd be better to not force the OC to do that.
Although his natural position is quarterback, he has thrown passes, caught passes, run the ball, and even returned kicks throughout his career. Last season, Hill showcased his versatility by completing 6 of 11 passes for 83 yards and touchdowns, rushing for 401 yards and 4 touchdowns, and catching 33 passes for 291 yards. Impressive, right? As the Broncos plan to reorganize their roster heading into the 2020.
I mean, I don't know, man. It does make sense, I guess, for the Broncos. Again, way more than the Saints. And I like Taysom. But as a fan, as a Saints fan, I just feel like it's time to start anew. It's time to get rid of these like old kind of stuff we've just been doing. The retread stuff of like, okay, the Saints equal Taysom Hill. It's just time, I think, for us to try something different. A new look, new players, all that new stuff. You know, similar with like Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas is an incredible player in his own right. The Saints have given him every opportunity. But it's reached the end of the road with some of these players where, okay, if we keep saying we want a new vision, we want a new identity, we want a new creativity, we want all this new stuff, we have to be willing to say, okay, that may not include Taysom Hill. That may not include Michael Thomas. That may not include even some defensive players like Cam Jordan. You know, it may include taking a chance on new players, drafting new players, filling positions with free agency. You know, and that's kind of why I've been, every time we talk about Trevor Penning, it's like, guys, just because he's here doesn't mean we have to make that work. We can go get a new player, whether it's free agency or trades or drafts or whatever. The Saints roster is the oldest roster in the NFL. It's time to start getting new blood in there, new players in there, just a new culture. You know, that's another thing too. We've talked about culture. I'm not saying Taysom is bad for the culture, but if we want to revamp all of this, we kind of have to do it with a new scheme and new players.
24 season, with the likely release of Russell Wilson, acquiring Hill could add an exciting spark to their offense. While it doesn't guarantee that Hill will be the starting quarterback, he could play a crucial role in the team, much like he did with Payton in New Orleans.
I mean, there's no way he'd be the starting quarterback. Again, this AI voicemail Morgan Freeman head almost just let it rip there. Sorry about that. This is a PG-13 channel. This is a family channel. I mean, just relax here. It's too much coffee, I guess. If you're Denver, you got to be thinking like, come on, Sean. Like, we don't want to be the Saints. We don't want to be a version of the Saints. We don't want to just be a retread of the Saints. If I told the Broncos, and I'm kind of speaking for the Broncos fans here, if I told the Broncos, hey, next season you can go into the season with Taysom Hill, Michael Thomas, Pete Carmichael on the staff, do you want to do that? They'd probably be like, no, we don't want to be just an old retread of former Saints. We don't want to be this old version of the Saints team. We want to be a new thing. We brought Sean Payton in here to build and replicate something new, or build something that says wholly in its own, not just taking bits and pieces and making this weird amalgamation of former Saints players.
With a record of 8-9 in the last season, the Broncos are looking to revitalize their performance and return to the playoffs. The potential addition of Taysom Hill could be the special ingredient they are looking for to reach new levels of success. And there you have it, New Orleans Saints fans and Denver Broncos followers. The news is on the table, and the question is, what do you think about the possible reunion of Sean Payton and Taysom Hill and the Broncos? Do you believe...
I'd be shocked if this happens, honestly. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. Maybe this voicemail robot, Ask Jeeves type voice modulator, maybe he knows. Maybe he's tapped in to the AI or something. Maybe he's some kind of, machine learning database on its own. Maybe he knows better than I do. I just don't think it would happen. But I kind of hope it does. I mean, I kind of hope I think it'd be beneficial for the Saints to move forward, get Hill's contract off the books, kind of reset some salary cap things. Like I said, start anew, kind of revamp the roster, get some new players in there. If you told me, I don't want to say cut the fat, but if you told me the Saints trimmed off, Michael Thomas, Taysom Hill, Jamal Williams, Cam Jordan, if we just kind of Trevor Penning, whatever, all these players, and we just kind of had new people filling in, and we started to turn the page of the future of the Saints, I'd be totally fine with that. I'd be totally fine with that. If Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson and Jimmy Graham's already gone and all these guys kind of were ushered out, and it's like, okay, it's time to start. Time to start seeing what we can do with young players, free agents, all this stuff. I'd be all for that. All for that. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes if you want to move forward, you can't keep looking backwards. So how true this is, who the hell knows? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think Sean Payton would do something like this? Do you think Taysom Hill's destination is Denver? Or do you think he'll be a Saint next year? Would you be sad to see him go? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.